license and registration, he can sense your aggravation.
On the head of the fallen angel.
When the world is muttering under the floorboards, stomp even louder.
Time.
Let them know you are alive today.
Or unhum.
Did you know that your hands came with a ripple effect?
Whisper tones unraveling like silk.
Blood, sweat, and tears win by any means poetry.
Sway, look at me. Is a piece of the pie too good for me?
Some may call it rock the mic. We call it poetry.
Hello, and welcome to Sojourn with Words right here on CTV. We are excited today because, we're always excited when we bring wonderful poets to our viewers, and today is no exception. Today we have Martin Vernon. Martin, welcome to Sojourn with Words.
Thank you very much, Sistah Joy. Absolute pleasure to be here. Great to see you again.
Thank you. It's been a while. Yes. Well, let me share a little bit about Martin before we begin. Martin Vernon was born on a farm in Sussex, England. For the last 30 years, he's lived in Ireland. He has been in County Clare in the west of Ireland for 25 years. He's had many jobs ranging from community theater actor to electrician and service engineer. He enjoys playing the concertina, nature, and meditation. He just had his 70th birthday. Congratulations, Martin. And he's supposed to be retired, but he's even busier than ever with volunteering. He has 2 grown children and 3 grandchildren, and has campaigned all his adult life around social justice issues, and is involved in intercultural work and a men's talking circle. Well, let's see, he's a poet, a singer, a songwriter, and a member of a member of the Clare Poetry Collective, and we'll hear about that. I understand it's been around for quite a while. His first poetry collection, The Birth and the Cry, was published by Revival Press in 2017, and he's currently working on an album of his songs and poems. Thank you, Martin, for being with us. And we are now going to be able to hear about your journey. And I understand that there's a poem in there by that title. But first of all, Martin, let's tell the folks how you and I met.
Well, as I say, I'm delighted to see you again. When COVID hit in Ireland, I'd previously been presenting an open mic in the library in Ennis, where I live in County Clare. And of course, people weren't allowed to gather anymore, so I couldn't do that. And I was trying to see what I could do to give poets a voice. So I invented a thing called Friday Lunchtime Poetry on Zoom. And it was a weekly poetry event that I thought would be a local thing. And it started in Ireland, but within 2 or 3 weeks, it got as far as America, right across as far as California, into Canada, and was stretching across Europe. And by the time it finished, 2.5 years later, we got as far as Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. But I did it at 1:00 lunchtime, and on the west coast of America, it was 5:00 in the morning, and all these poets were coming bleary-eyed and with a cup of coffee. And this was how I met Sistah Joy. And Sistah Joy came very regularly to it, and it was a great pleasure. The whole thing was a great pleasure, very unexpected. But as I say, it ran for 2.5 years every week. We only missed 2. We missed a Christmas Day and a Christmas Eve. And what I did was something a little bit different, and I wasn't planning this, but it developed. For the first half an hour, as people came in, I started chatting to them and asking them how they were. And being poets, they wore their heart on their sleeve, and if you ask a poet how they are, they might just tell you. And so people started to share sometimes quite difficult things that were happening in their lives. And but in that way, we became, friendships were formed.
We became a family. Yes.
Yeah. So it was just wonderful. I was so pleased to see you again, Sister Joy. You contributed an enormous amount to it.
Well, thank you. I met some wonderful poets and who have now become friends, and we're definitely staying in touch. And there's been a spinoff, another series another weekly series that is an international poetry event. I think it's called Fourth Fridays, which I'm privileged to join periodically, not as regularly as I did when you were hosting, but it's great to have you on Sojourn with Words now so that my viewers here in the States can get to know you and to hear some of your poetry. Now, let's back up for a moment. How is it that you came to poetry? What brought you to this experience of writing?
I didn't like much at school, and I left school as early as possible. But I suppose that the two things that I did like in school were poetry and drama. And I suppose that's where I first became interested in poetry. But that was it, and I left school. And it was many, many years later. So as we said, I just had my 70th birthday. But 20 years ago, I'd been an electrician working on building sites and whatever, and I took a job working as a service engineer, mending washing machines and cookers and all the rest of it. And I was in a horrendous accident, a head-on high-speed collision with what we call a boy racer, an 18-year-old in a very fast car who was trying to overtake two cars on a blind bend. And we had a head-on collision. I was very lucky to survive it. And I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which I'd never heard of and didn't know what it was. And also told that I had it extremely badly. And I spent the next 3 months in a psychiatric hospital. And I was so bad that I couldn't be in the room with more than one other person. And constant panic attacks, flashbacks, nightmares, etc. if I did sleep. And I was on a massive cocktail of tranquilizers and antidepressants and sleeping tablets and painkillers.
So is that how you came to write healing?
Yeah, well, one night I did fall asleep and I had a nightmare, and I woke up and I wrote down my nightmare, which was, a kind of flashback of the accident. And I wouldn't say it was really a poem, but it was something that I wrote, and it's the first thing in my book. And that was it. I was away. I just started writing, and I found it very therapeutic. And I've been writing ever since, and also encouraging other people to write. And it's become a really, really important part of my life. After a while, I joined a group in County Clare, where I live, called the Poetry Collective, that's been going for 30 years or something now. And of course, that all stopped over the pandemic, and I'm pleased to say that it's gradually coming back, and we're starting to organize poetry events around the county.
Certainly now we understand why much of your poetry deals with healing and inspiration, but also talks about nature and the importance of protecting it. Talk to us about the focus of your poetry and why you've selected that beyond the personal experience.
I think, like yourself, I was born on a farm, and so not all, but a lot of my early memories are around nature. And for me, nature is like It's like my home place. It's where I feel safe. Now, obviously, nature can be absolutely vicious and extremely powerful and frightening sometimes. But I'm talking about those moments with nature that are absolutely priceless. I've, for instance, I had one day I was working outside beside a river, and I became aware of something beside me, and it was a young otter. And this young otter, who didn't know that maybe should be cautious around humans, came right up to and was standing beside me. And it was one of those moments where I just froze and stopped breathing, and somehow it is etched into my memory. I had another one last week at night, and I came into the estate where I lived in where I live in the town, and a hedgehog came right up to me and was just looking at me, and was right beside me. And again, I just didn't move and stopped breathing. But the one that really sticks in my mind, and I might read to you. It's just it's a little haiku, and it's in my book there, and I wrote a little introduction to this. This is after my sister passed from cancer. Our mother had dementia and was in a nursing home. After my sister passed, I left our mother, Pamela, and went to the station. As I waited, a butterfly flew over the train, landed on my heart, and rested. After a while, it flew straight back over the train and disappeared. I stopped moving. I stopped breathing, and it was just a moment. And I'd say it was there for 2 minutes, and then just flew straight back. And I wrote a little haiku about it, and it goes like this. Train platform delight. Red admiral butterfly landing on my heart. And I think it's also a place of safety to me, and a place that gives me, if I'm sad, I take myself to nature, and it teaches me and it minds me.
Yeah, nature is always a healing force for us, especially when we have origins such as ours. So thank you for sharing that story and that haiku.
And I have another nature poem that I'd like to read, if it's okay, please. Called Grass Song. You, yes, you single blade of grass, you one in a billion in this soft meadow. Time will not allow me to write a song for all your friends, but you alone have caught my attention. You're not the tallest, not the greenest, not the waveliest. It's just that now, in this one moment, although no one else has noticed, you and I are the whole world, and I love your perfect simplicity.
There's a fabulous video that Martin recorded some time ago, and it's his poem. And well, it's called Journey. And Martin, is there anything quickly that you'd like to say about the poem? Or do you want our viewers to just listen and view?
It's just an imagined journey of somebody leaving the war in Syria to seek asylum, in this case, in Ireland.
Okay. Well, here we are. Martin Vernon presenting journey.
Syria, sacred, starry skies, sweet songs shared. Islam, Shia, Sunni, Sharia, Assad, IS, ISIL, ISIS, shamed, shunned, shoved, shackled, stoned, shot, shooting, shuddering, shattered shards, shouting, shoveling, shell-shocked, shaking, sobbing, scared. Sad songs shared. Ship, seas, smugglers, sharks, storms. Shipwreck, saved. Shore, sand, showers, shivering, shaking, soaking, shabby skirts, shirts, shoes, scarred skin, sores, shade, shelter, stars, sky. Sad songs shared. Asylum seeking sanctuary, safety, status, sweet, sad songs shared. Silence, soothing, sleep.
Can you speak about why Gaza is of significance to you?
I suppose if anything drives me in the world, and I got this from my mother. My mother was a volunteer and a peace activist. And I suppose I got that very, very early on. And if anything drives me, it's the fact that I burn for justice. And when I see unjust situations, it really distresses me. But I'm the kind of person who doesn't just be distressed, but I do something about it. And I play my small part, I hope, in making those kind of changes. And I'd be involved in 20 different community campaigns and different things. So I've been involved for many years with a group called the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign. And of course, since October the 7th, this has really been in the public eye. And I suppose one of the differences now is between the terrible events of the Second World War and the Holocaust, is that a lot of people said that they didn't know that it was happening at the time. They weren't aware of what was happening in the Holocaust, But now the entire world knows what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Gaza, and it is genocide. It's genocide happening right before our eyes. And everybody knows, different people are, a lot of people around the world, politicians are saying, oh, that's a really terrible situation, but very little is happening. And to Americans, I have to say that Israel wouldn't be able to be doing what it's doing to the to the Palestinians, if it wasn't for the backing of the USA. And even this is the 75th anniversary of the 76th anniversary of the founding of the Israeli state, which is known to Palestinians as the Nakba, or the catastrophe, when 750,000 Palestinians were driven off the land and forced into exile. And this is this week, and this week the Joe Biden administration has just sanctioned $1 billion worth of arms to Israel, which is being used to flatten Gaza. And so far as the figure is something like 35,000 people have died so far. And now it looks like it's so many people disappeared. I mean, I'm sure the number is much higher than that.
Is there a poem that you've written on this that would address your views on this subject that we could share with our viewers?
Yeah, I've actually taken a poem, a very famous poem, and written a little bit on the end of it. So this famous poem that most people would be familiar with was written by Pastor Niemoller, and he wrote it in 1946 after the Second World War. And the poem looks back to the rise of fascism in Germany in the 1930s. After his poem, I've written a little update. First, they came for the communists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak out because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak out. Then the Zionists came for the Palestinians, and not enough people spoke out. But now, eventually, after 75 years and more of the Zionists coming for the Palestinians, we are speaking out. All over the world, more and more of us are speaking out, and we'll keep on speaking out. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians.
Wow, thank you, Martin. Okay, well, that was powerful. That poetry by Martin Vernon. I'm glad our viewers are getting to hear your story and more of your poetry. Yes, please share. Let's see. I know there's a poetry book and the song and the poetry album that you're working on. Talk to us quickly about that. And we want to make sure that we fit in a couple of more poems.
Okay, so I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I was writing poems and I was playing music and singing, and so I thought, well, how do you become a songwriter? And so I started by taking existing tunes and putting new words, and I started writing my own songs. So I'd like to share with you a gentle little song I wrote. It's a song called When the Moon and I Went Walking, that I wrote on a beach one night. When the moon and I went walking side by side along the strand, she was lovely, I was lonely. She reached out and held my hand. I was wandering on the shoreline. She was watching over me. Then we danced and sang together in perfect harmony. Oh, moon, moon, oh, moon, magic moon. Oh, moon, moon, I love you, magic moon. When the moon and I went talking, I just knew she'd understand. She listened as I rambled, walking barefoot on the sand. Only stars could hear this love song. She whispered in my ear when she came so close beside me. My dark clouds disappeared. Oh, moon, moon, oh, moon, magic moon. Oh, moon, moon, I love you, magic moon. When the moon and I went courting, there was magic in the air. She glistened as the starlight twinkled on her face and hair, and we spent all night together. She was perfect company till it dawned on us at sunrise. She couldn't stay with me. Oh, moon, moon, oh, moon, magic moon. Oh, moon, moon, I love you, magic moon.
Well, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Martin. Oh my goodness. Quite the songwriter you are, as well as accomplished poet. We're very honored to have had you with us today. Martin, is there a way that our viewers can be in touch with you?
In the back of my book, I ask people to contact me. I have a book called The Birth and the Cry, which I can send to people if they're interested, and you can contact me on email, which is Martin Vernon, MartinVernon, at Outlook, outlook.ie.
Okay. Well, that's Martin Vernon right here on CTV, presenting the best of poetry that you'll find anywhere. Martin, thank you for being with us, and we look forward to having more opportunities to learn about you by contacting you at your email address, but also we're wishing you all the best with your poetry, with your songwriting, and your theater work. So,
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure. Great to see you again, Sistah Joy. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, from stateside to right over there in Ireland, we're very happy to make the connection and to connect our viewers with you as well. Until next time, always remember, for those who have the inclination, when you have the thought, you have the inspiration, pick up a pen and keep writing.